That's Mike.
And that's Toya, and this is Tech Beats and Bytes. What's going on, Toya? What's going on?
Not much. Same old, same old. How you be?
I'm all right. All right. So, as a black woman,
Yeah,
there's something you want to talk about.
of course. Listen, we here for it. I'm definitely interested. Congrats to Kamala Harris on the VP appointment. I think it's going to be an interesting race to just see now that she's in this position. Right before they were going at each other in the debates. Now she's on the team. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Definitely looking forward to seeing what happens going forward. Because at the end of the day, we need something to change, and November's huge. So fingers crossed everything works out.
So, how do you see all this working out in the long run?
So what's really interesting also right now, because of what August is and what August means from a national month perspective, right?
Mhm.
Tomorrow is all about Black women equal pay. There's a lot of different conversations kind of going on this month. And I think it's interesting that Joe Biden waited until now to announce her. So, I'm not sure if the people on his team were thinking about that and what August means in the Black community, but
Right.
I think that's interesting. So, going forward, it just continues to level up the change that we're seeing across the nation. And as much as people try to fight against it, it's happening, right? The browning of America is a conversation that needs to be embraced and discussed. People need to get comfortable with this new normal that we're experiencing on a whole lot of different fronts. And at the end of the day, diversity and inclusion is still a very important topic. It's all about the implementation and putting in real results, real solutions that drive real meaningful change.
Right. I agree. I think, for one, definitely five ski to the soror. I feel sorry for everybody that doesn't understand what's about to happen with the Divine Nine getting behind this because it's about to be a whole different thing. I mean, I'm not even talking about just what AKs are going to do. When it comes down to stuff like this is when you see the letters and the colors don't matter. It's all about the Divine Nine. So that's just going to be something crazy. You think Twitter and Facebook and Instagram was out of control? You have no idea what's about to happen.
Right. Ski one time. Oops, ski.
Yeah, that's going to be a whole different beast. And I do believe some of the stuff you were talking about was actually strategic. Knowing some of her social media team and the people she's bringing on board and that's helping Joe Biden, they don't really make a lot of accidental things.
Right.
Think about a lot of the marketing campaigns that Obama had that was really prominent and how his marketing, I would say you could expect some of that in the upcoming months. And they're going to have to be virtual because you can't go out there and shake hands and kiss babies no more. So I think he purposely announced on Twitter to let Trump know we gonna have a Twitter war, and I'm here for it.
Right. You're not the only one who uses
Right.
Twitter.
And I don't think it's gonna work out for Trump the way he think because he don't have that savviness, and he's such a dictator.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure he does all his tweeting and everything. Versus Joe gonna have some stuff that's gonna be straight up automated. If a certain key word come out, they're gonna have a response to be like, "Yeah, bro, bop 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 bop, shut that down." So,
Right. And what I do hope to see is that maybe some of that Obama strategy, right? Obama, when he was running, that social media strategy was on point.
right.
We haven't quite seen that yet, per se, from like the Democratic side. So hopefully you'll see that kind of, to your point, now that he's announced his VP, that may increase sort of what you see just again because of the power of Black Twitter.
Yeah, and it's, like you said, it's going to keep picking up because even with some of the local campaigns, that's one of the things I've been seeing. Can't
Mhm.
knock on doors, as we called it. Strategies are called virtual door knockers. How do you pull specific
Right.
lists and target specific people? And those virtual door knockers are bigger than anything. So, speaking of a virtual door knocker, we have the voice of the South, uh, one of the primary voices in our community in South Florida. Not even just the Black community, just the community in general. Hot topics just getting hotter, and now she's giving you your morning squeeze. Let's bring to the stage Miss Jill Tracey. Miss Jill Tracey. I don't know where our producer is at. Producer, can we get Jill Tracey?
Bring it from the back to the front.
There she go.
Sexual chocolate. How y'all doing?
All right, all right. So
Hey,
you is
yes.
just the hair is fabulous. The glasses, where them glasses come from?
Optical City,
Optical City.
Black owned in on Sunset Strip up in Broward.
Okay.
Jamaican Massive in the house.
I got like a 1998 Finger Waves classic style.
We giving you with an ode to the 20s.
I
Right.
got
Thank you very much.
Right.
Yes. I'm giving you a little Josephine over on the side.
and the color offsets it, so
I'm
the color.
giving you a little Madam CJ because I'm feeling the fullness of Black female empowerment right now.
But speak it.
That's the color that Jay-Z had on when the dude said, "And you're wearing a pink suit." He was like, "Nah, it's mauve, bro. It's
Mauve.
Chill out, bro. This ain't pink, it's mauve."
Okay. How y'all
So,
doing?
Jill, we wanted to bring you on the show because, first of all, let's just jump right in.
Yes, sir.
With the everly highly energetic and emotional Star X Smith. How did you guys decide to put together the morning squeeze?
For that very reason. And he is always out of control. And literally the only time I would go on Facebook is because somebody would text me and be like, "Do you see what the hell Star X just said?" And I have to go over there and be like, "What the hell are you over here ranting and raving about?" And it's always, and I would say we agree probably 2% of the time. And so one day we were having one of those 98 percenters. Okay. And I was like, you know what? Yes. Because he had been asking me, and I was like, you know what? I think there's definitely a space missing in that point counterpoint. We used to have a lot of those shows. CNN was really kind of built on those shows, but we don't. It's either, I love CNN. I watch it like I live in the airport. However, it's starting to get, there's a muting of that. We'll get back to that. But there's a muting of their conversation while Fox's is growing more vigilant every day. But that's what happens, That's what happens, when the ape has his hands on the salt. Dave Chappelle reference.
I feel you.
Gayle King interview.
Right. We just jumping all the way in, off the leg. Let's go. I want to bring it back to one of the points you just said, muting of the conversations to be able to have, I would say, ample discussions of disagreements. We don't always have to agree to show different perspectives.
Exactly.
Why do you feel that's so important in our community? And what do you feel? Because fortunately, but unfortunately, I think me and LaToya are probably the other way. We probably only disagree on certain things 2%. Right. But we have totally different perspectives.
Coming to the same thing, right.
Right. Even if we're saying the same things, the approach is different sometimes. Why do you think that's so important for people to understand the difference in not always agreeing or being able to have a true conversation where you can see people that don't agree, even if they're from the same culture or of the same?
Exactly. I think it's important to be able to hear diverse voices in a conversation, because a lot of times if you don't hear your voice, you tune out. And we need everybody at the red table talking right about now.
It is August, right? It is August. We need everybody.
We need everybody at the table talking right now. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's a good point. And when you think about November, you need to hear the reasons why certain people may not vote a certain way.
Right.
So that way you can address that, right? Because if you continue to talk to your echo chamber, you're not picking up.
Right. You think everybody is like, conscious and is about to do the right thing. No.
We've seen that.
I had a conversation on IG this morning with a guy who was like, he will not vote for Kamala because she was a prosecutor, and went down 2 or 3 cases that may or may not be true. I didn't have time to investigate that. And I was like, so you're going to vote for Trump? And he was like, no, I'm going to vote for somebody that I never even heard of. And I'm like, oh, okay. Not even Kanye, girl. This was some other random person. And I'm like, and I resisted the urge to say, oh, so you're going to just throw your vote away. I was like, oh, okay, well, I hope that is well with your soul. Have a great day. Because there's really nothing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There was nothing else for me to say to that person that you would vote for somebody that nobody's even, I can't even, it was so random. Rather than, vote for Kamala. You don't have, back to that whole thought. We don't have to agree on everything, but we do have to agree on what is good for our progression.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think I've seen a lot of people seem to have a hard time separating opinions from facts. And I tell people a lot of times, even when I argue about stuff, I try to keep it data informed, because emotions are always going to run wild. You may feel a certain way, feel a certain thing, but I also think people need to educate themselves. And one of the interesting things I saw about Kamala is they're speaking about her being a prosecutor. Nobody spoke about the accountability of what she was trying to clean up, because it's not like they were just randomly arresting people.
Right.
People were
right.
Now,
They weren't running naked through Walmart.
Right. In LA, California, a big place where a lot of your drugs come through, in and from Mexico and South America and everything. So one of the problems, or one of the things I kind of wanted to ask and get the feedback on, is how do we educate people that accountability doesn't mean that you have to be hard on people or you don't believe in what they can do. But accountability, you have to at least recognize things, because one of the things I see is if you aren't hard on certain things, it gets out of hand. Because like last week, you have a $681 million scheme of addiction to addict treatment going on in Palm Beach County. And that's primarily opioid users, because a lot of times opioid, of course, in South Florida, primarily used by a larger white demographic. They don't actually serve time. They get to get released. They get treatments and everything else.
Right.
So do you think it's fair with Kamala's case to also make people recognize just the disparities of how the justice system works against people of color?
That's a very good question. And to just take it on a side street, that's Melba Pearson's job from now to the 17th.
That's what we're No, that's where we were gonna go with it. So you're right.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think sadly, one of the issues that we have is teaching what accountability means, because the younger audience,
younger always not in age, but in mind.
Because I teach teenagers, and I'm blessed to have some really good ones. But some of them have been raised by wolves. I mean, it just is real, and we have to own that shit. We have to own what crack addiction did to people in the 80s and how that affected the children that they raised. That shit's real. You know what I'm saying? So we got to deal with that some kind of way, because that's what's in the street, just shooting up children. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Because what are they doing? You know what I'm saying? There's no money in the street. So what? At least back in the 80s, you knew it was drugs. Right. It was killing each other, for territory and drugs. What are y'all doing now? You all on lean. What is it?
But I think to what you said, there was never any rehabilitation for those things.
That's what I'm saying.
It was never a system put in place to, like, okay, we tore down a community. We hurt a community because we're too young that wouldn't know. We're talking about Oliver North, the Reagan era, and everything they did to even get drugs. As we always say, the dope boys on the corner that you see don't own planes and boats. So you got to realize how I got here. So I do believe there needs to be an addressment of, and that's one of the things I actually have heard Melba talk about, rehabilitation to actually help the youth versus just throwing them in the school to prison pipeline.
Right.
Yeah. But going back to your original point too, Mike, where you were sort of asking a question about what can we do, I think some of it ties into marketing campaigns and slogans, right? Stop and frisk, right? So how sort of change the perspective on what she was doing by like tying it up with a nice bow? Because at the end of the day, people respond to slogans. It is what it is. Stop and frisk.
Lock up. Drugs, all those things.
The drugs, like how
drugs.
Sort of package it so then that way people can relate to it and get it quickly and like, okay, well, that's what she was doing. It wasn't how they're spinning it. It was this, because I understand what that is. And at the end of the day, you have to kind of speak to people in that way. And sometimes the Democratic Party can be a little too highbrow and people get lost in the process. And then they're like, okay, I'm not quite sure what you're saying, which is also going back to police, defunding the police, defund. That's a trigger word. And you get lost, and you're not even paying attention.
They got lost in the
it's happening and what.
Well, but it was very descriptive at the same time. So you know, we have to plan them words.
I was just about to say it's descriptive, but people don't read
Right.
it. Sometimes I think you got to take that Republican approach. It has to be very simplified and broken down on a third grade level to reach people. Now, with that being said, because a lot of this, of course, we're talking about my brothers. We're talking about black men, brown men getting locked up, right?
Right.
I want to ask you women this. Beautiful black women, I want y'all to answer this question. What's the last slogan that's actually been around to motivate black men since the 100-man march?
I mean, so there is that whole movement, but it's not strong enough.
You should just let that sit there for a second, because honestly, I cannot think. I mean, think about that, LaToya. I can think of every black girl rock, you go girl. I can think of every single solitary one of them.
Now I'm gonna tell you something. Now I'm expressing this to you because
what's
Jill,
up, nigga?
Right.
You
because
good,
Jill, you
nigga?
have a voice.
Right.
You have a prominent voice. Toya, you're in marketing, and I've talked about this, especially when I'm sitting around my wife and I hear things, and I have little sayings I can say to her.
Right.
Like, black girl, I have 13 things I can throw at her the day she does something dope or she closes a deal. Yeah. But when I started thinking about it, we don't have anything that's actually pushing or motivating black men besides sports.
Yeah.
So if it bothers me because Jill, you might have made the post, or somebody made the post where it was like, you know, seeing these things shows that black women are still the most hated. I understand that. But I also think black women uplift each other more than anybody else. What I don't see is the black love of brothers amongst themselves. And that's the part. We got to remove some of this masculinity and this toxic energy where I don't know if it's just a brother, I love you campaign or something that's very simple, because we don't have that mentorship. We don't have that bond of like, bro, you been dope. You know, anything that just puts us on a level where we got something we can say to each other in this code for, I got your back, I'm supporting you. Women had that black and white photo challenge. Y'all have had so many great things in the last couple of years. And I'm like, what have I got that went viral to support my brothers out there?
I need a good hashtag.
It's empty.
I mean, but that is so deep. That is so powerful, because we do derive energy and love and support from each other. Women that you don't even know, Black Girl Magic, you know, from women that you don't even know, that just see something on, girl, you looking good today, you rocking it today.
Right.
And I don't see, and you're right, I don't see that.
And the last thing you even had close to it was Issa Rae with I'm rooting for everybody black, but that still came from a black woman, and it kind of got embraced by black women.
Yeah. So, what is pushing? I mean, and what's the last? I bet you if we ask 20 people right now, what is the last image? What's the most powerful image you've seen of a black man in the past month? And they'll say George Floyd.
Right. Or let's go even further. What's been as powerful? What's even come as close to anything beyond the 1,000,000-man march in the last decade? The last thing we had was Obama, if you really want to put it there.
And you can't, y'all didn't really get credit for him.
Right, exactly. We already saw what happened with diversity and inclusion. We know who really ate off of that.
Okay. And can we just say right now, can we just like put a pin in this and come back to it?
No, we can go through it right now. Go through it.
The descriptors of Kamala yesterday when I did the story, I'm sitting in for Shelby.
She was black until yesterday. Every other race came up till yesterday.
Wait a minute, but right, Indian, everything, but Caribbean is not coming up.
Right.
I counted 5. New York Times, LA Times, the Sun Sentinel, the Herald. All of them were either Indian. Somebody said Asian and black, but Caribbean is being her daddy.
Right.
That's what made me bring it up. Her father is Jamaican.
Again.
But there are 2 out of 6 mentioned her father. And I'm like, no, we cannot let them take her father, his
out
of the picture, period. I mean, because there's a whole conversation behind that, right? Because when I'm processing it, how I'm gonna talk about it Sunday, right? And what angle I want to come from. And it's really like, that's like taking half of me. If I showed up always as half of me, and guess what? As a Black woman whose father was not present, damn, I do show. That's what's missing. There is a video that Will Smith put up the other day of a guy teaching his daughter cheerleading stances. If you see it, posted. Because he's, she falls and she starts crying and he picks her up and he just walks her through it. And then they do it again and it's magnificent.
Oh, right. Little girl doing the gymnastic thing.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can your producer play that at some point? Get out of here. Some people, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We don't see a lot. We see, fathers combing their little girl's hair and they're like, oh, that's special. No, it's not. That's not special for him to do. He, of course, you know what I'm saying? But
that's what they do. Yeah.
Yes, being with her in that space and teaching her, and we also need to get them to read Malcolm Gladwell, but that's a sidebar. But that the fact that she fell, they did it again and she got it, how much time they have put in together practicing. Right. And you know what I'm saying? So to Michael's point, it speaks to so many things in that minute.
Right. And that's what I was going to say earlier about movements, is that you're seeing those kind of posts, but there's no hashtag around it. There's no label around it, right? Like you said, you have the images where you see the dads doing the hair, or you see the image with all the dads and their kids in the group shot.
Right.
But there's no leading campaign. So that's I might come up with the campaign.
Right.
Honestly, I'm over here thinking about it. And it's, I'm thinking also Black men right now are missing their therapy sessions, which we knew as the barbershop, right? Yeah. So there's certain things.
Real.
And when you come up with something, it's almost like now that I've identified the problem, I got to solve the problem.
Right.
That's what we do, though.
Right. Okay. I definitely feel a need to solve that problem, because the more and more I think about it, I'm like, damn, there ain't nothing I can think about besides Black men being killed. Most Black men that our celebrities have been hung to dry because they're not supportive of Black women,
or they had an opinion, or they mentioned.
I'm telling you, the most of it is the shirt to me just says, "Bro, I love you." Like that's the campaign. Wow. We got to start it all over again. You know what I'm saying? I don't even see Black men.
I like that because everybody can wear that shirt.
Right. Yep.
And Black women will show up with it. I'll take 10.
So that's the part I don't want. I just really don't want another Black woman to make it go viral. Like, we got to do this. Like,
y'all do that.
Right. Like magic.
Yeah.
That's what we do. But it's interesting because this morning we were watching Rock, the sitcom from the 90s.
Yeah.
And then thinking about, because a lot of people don't even think about Rock, right? When you're talking about old sitcoms, it doesn't really come up. But about the diversity that was on TV. And I was just looking at Sakari, and I was like, dude, you're not going to grow up with any of these images. We had so many different images to look at growing up in those developmental stages where you saw positive men, right? Rock, he was just an average blue collar worker, but he had a family and his dad was there. And you saw the conversations, and the episode that we were watching, it was for the Ross Perot Bush Clinton election.
Wow.
And the dialogue they were having on the show. And it's like, you don't get to see any of that.
Yeah. I was about to say, what you just said is another big point. We don't even have shows that's that raw and that authentic anymore.
Right.
Because you can tell me because of A Different World and because of Spike Lee, it wasn't just that my father was an alpha. I knew I had to touch foot on some HBCU campus. I knew I had to Greek in some way. That was my life. And you shut down at what was that, around 7:00? On Thursdays to watch all those shows right after the news went off. That was a part of the routine. And we're missing that. And now we got reality TV trash, and we just
got trash. Listen, as much as I love
hot dumpster use is what it is. It's not even trash.
That's what I was about to say. For as much as I love Instagram, I'm seeing there that is so tragic right now. With that, what is the one where you can pay and people can, fans only?
OnlyFans.
Or what's the one that people do on YouTube? It starts with the P. But yeah. I can't think.
Patreon.
Patreon. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll have a shirt within a week. We'll figure something
There
out.
we go.
We're just gonna have to do a test market. We need something because there's too many black men out there that might not be getting the credit, but like, you know, even think about this. Even if you think about this saying, behind every great man is a better woman. Even if you do something, women have just continuously been uplifted. Like
well, that's because, you know, there is no you without me. So let's just keep our hierarchy together. To your point.
And that's the truth, but I got to figure that part out. Now,
yeah.
That's one issue. Going back to another one. Jill, what do you think we have to do to uplift South Florida as an overall unit? And I'm thinking everything from Palm Beach down to Monroe County. Like what really has to change for this region? Because our region is very impactful beyond what people think. And I'm actually worried now because if you think some of our public figures were related to entertainment and tourism, and there's no idea when those things are going to come back again to a full-fledged thing. What do you think we have to do to make these changes in the next 2 years while we start rebuilding from COVID?
Oh my God. Move? No. No, I mean, you know, and it's such a dichotomy, right? Because we're in this is one of the most beautiful places I've ever lived.
Right.
South Florida is just beautiful. But, you know, once you crack that coconut, you know, it's rotten. And that is the problem. There are too many people that can be bought and sold and for nominal fees. And it's very, I mean, I don't even know where you start. Like what happened from Atlee Range and Dewey Knight and that whole group to here. You know, I think that we really need to, the moment between that and here to me is the boycott. And I want to say maybe it's because there was no real success from that kind of mobilization of like all Black people in South Florida in some way. Everybody got in where they fit in to, you know, be a part of that, whether it was, you know, lobbying your sorority or fraternity not to come here during that time, to cancel, you know, because it was all of that. It was financial that made Miami say, okay, well, yeah, we do feel like you need a piece of the tourism pie, and we're gonna get with Don Peoples over here and, you know, give him some money to do this Royal Plaza Hotel, which, you know, to my mind, is pretty much the whole setup of Magic City, but that's a whole nother show. So, you know, I can't really point to anything, cultural, sports, education, philanthropy, where we are on a common.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That we can, that the three of us, the three of us and everybody watching says, yeah, this is kind of a center. Like we could all kind of agree that if we put our energy here, it can really help the Black community in South Florida. Like I can't think of, we have a lot of little silos and a bunch of people in these little groups, which, you know, maybe they're
say it.
I'm gonna say maybe there are people who could not pledge. I don't know, but it's like they have these little cliques, and they're just, you know, because we're in the media, you kind of penetrate so many of them. You know, you get some representation from all of them.
But I think one of the things, Jill, that you said was silos, though. Somebody mentioned this to me, and it's one of the main reasons we wanted to build our hotel. It was one of the main reasons we wanted to build the food hall. Mm-hmm. Where's the safe space for Black people to go in South Florida?
You build it and they will come.
But the hard part is building it. I mean,
whatever happened to that food hall in Overtown? Let's not talk about Overtown. Who did I interview?
You talking about the Urban with Keon Wood? The Urban was coming together. Yeah, but that was coming together. He's still working on it. We had one, and the developers didn't want to bring the building up to code, so we had to abandon the whole project. I personally, you address something I say with philanthropy and people saying that they want to change what's going on in South Florida. Mm-hmm. What I don't see is anybody making the investments to make the change versus just feeding their pocket. And I also don't feel people in South Florida believe in the people that's here in South Florida, because it's always money given to an out of towner to fix in town problems.
Well, I mean, I would agree with that to a degree, but I think that what happens, there are some people who work together to, Miami. But then that's it. They just like cut everybody else out.
Right.
It's just their box. And it's like, you can't play in our sandbox. But
that's the thing. That's why I started the way I did. We got to expand the sandbox, because you got to think of the commuters, the travelers, people that's moving. You got to realize
that's why we haven't been able to capture any of these moments and then take them and have a Black hotel right now. We weren't able to capture How Can I Be Down? That was a moment, Peter Thomas that owns Bar One. That was really his breakthrough. That was Black Miami, South Florida, whatever. That was our breakthrough moment. Because listen, everybody was here. It was, don't count me on the year because a lot of them are fuzzy. But I was working with Paul Now Magazine and some other whole bunch of them. And I had a picture of J-Lo and Puffy on a scooter outside of the Cameo, like 4:00 in the morning. And we was just everybody was just partying and balling. It was like everything.
Yeah.
And that moment was magic. And somehow somebody got an envelope or a bag and sold that whole fucking movement that was about to happen out. I don't know who. Might have been a bunch of people. Might have been
that was before Memorial Day weekend became what it became, right?
Yeah.
That was before Memorial Day weekend became what it came. That's when.
That is what it came out of.
Right. I remember when it was like Moon, Tigger, all them used to just be chilling out of nothing. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Peter did How Can I Be Down and brought everybody down here for the first time like that. Then Louis Oliver followed up with Black Beach Weekend. And that was awesome. And then, I don't know, somebody told some niggas that showed up like.
And it changed. It flipped.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
and I remember I was just talking to Lou 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then I had a conversation with Eric, and that's one person I really want to get on the show. People need to know the story of Lou. Yeah, no, Eric Pettis.
You were talking about, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and we were just talking about the dynamics of what Lewis built when you talk about the Forge and you talk about Bed and the stuff he had and how they had it on lock. And
all the way up. He took the game. Lewis took the game all the way up. And then he passed the ball to Mike.
Right. But a lot of people don't know, you might see Headliner, but if you look at those flyers, that's Headliner and Louis Oliver.
And Lewis. Oh, yeah. And I mean, in that, Headliner in and of itself, if that movie ever comes out, people will see, just what they did and how much integrity they did it with. And they get Headliner gets a lot of flack for being so close, so tight-knit. But having seen the progression of them teach that whole set from that moment around Lewis and building that whole set is doing well. All of them are doing exceptionally well.
Now, the only thing I can tell you is when I saw that happening, I remember, I can't tell y'all the exact date. I can't tell you the exact where, but I remember grabbing Dante and I went outside. It was the day we found out that Live Nation was about to buy out David Grutman. And a lot of people, if you don't understand entertainment in South Florida, David Grutman is that guy, no matter how you.
Right.
And when David sold to Live Nation, this is what I said to Dante. Everything just got shut down. He was like, I was like, because now your contracts, when you come to a concert in Miami, will include you must appear at this restaurant, you will go to this club. So that
stay here.
Yeah, you will stay at this hotel. That shut down all the extra money that everybody was going to get to make. And then what the guy from Live Nation, the guy that owns it, he went and bought up something else recently. So he pretty much owns radio through the concert to the after
Please believe it. Please believe it.
And I was like, They don't own the license and they don't own the rights to live, and they definitely don't own the Fountain Blue. It's about to be lights out for them. Even if they still do good, they'll never get to do the great that they built.
Well, but you know what? And see, you know, I mean, I never want to. They always got something up their sleeves. However, this is classic because they couldn't. Who's to say a year ago that gravy train would not just keep paying out? The pandemic just shut it down. Nobody could have seen that coming. I don't care who you were.
Right.
And so I offer you that most people are not prepared for it.
I hope they're coming back to home.
Off of entertainment that way. I mean, hell, I got furloughed for a month and some change. And we still, I mean, you know, they've shaved off, and you know, the company's been bought, and you know, I mean, really, y'all gonna look around, and it's gonna be 2 people to own every radio station in the country.
Yeah, no, this is a huge.
It's real.
But once we see after this, it's gonna be a completely different situation.
Oh.
Money has.
Did you see? Wait a minute. Who was Jeff Bezos made? Was it $52 billion since April?
Yeah.
Did you see the list? Yeah.
He made like 13 billion in a day or something like that.
Huh?
Yeah. He made like 13 billion in a day one day.
Right. Let that marinate over some Uncle Nearest, okay? In a day. Like, there's no way there's nothing that you could ever do that's gonna make that happen in your life right now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's no longer there's no such thing as a level playing field anymore. It's gone. There isn't.
He changed economics. He would literally have to give his wealth and distribute his wealth strategically to people to ever fix economic power again.
Right.
And he's only going to continue to grow. I tell people every night that I don't go out anymore, it's micro stocks that I'm buying in Amazon. Just being straight up.
Yeah.
If I got an extra $40 that I would have spent, I'm going to buy some micro stocks in Amazon, because every time I buy stocks, I go back, I've made more money. It's just that simple.
Yep.
And he's gonna, I mean, I'm waiting for the Congress to probably try to find a way to shut him down.
They're working on it, but unfortunately, Trump
it's going to be impossible
sense to be able to get this done.
Yeah.
So, you know, we got to get Kamala, whatever. And oh my God, wait till that starts.
Yeah.
Okay, because who was it? Somebody already, one of them Fox commentators already said Kamala, I don't know what.
But you know they're coming to be messy, and she just has to be ready for it.
Like, but and so how are we going to strategically see? That's the thing too. We got to strategically deal with this shit. We need everybody to watch Good Trouble on Netflix. Do you know what I'm saying? Because that is a power that I don't possess that power. I can tell you right now, I'd have been dead in that cafeteria. I'd have been dead. Because there's no way I would have let them be on that bridge. I'd have been dead. Because I'm not centered in that place that he was. And now that is the lesson of his life. Like, he was centered in a truth so deep that he was living for, that he could endure all of that. Now that's deep. And that's what we're going to have right now to continue.
Because I tell people I debate so I don't have to fight. Because if I fight,
there you go.
I know the ending point.
Yep.
For me, if I fight you, my goal is to destroy you so we never have to fight again.
Thank you. We have, and if you ever seen, a woman such as LaToya or you can expect me. You would probably expect me to throw a chair at you. But if you ever seen, a woman who is really kind of centered and in peace, when you go to that level and she go off,
it's hard to come back.
Yeah, you don't want to see that. Y'all don't want to see that from millions and millions of Black women who have been woosah holding this shit in place. Okay, so we can get where we got to go. But yeah, I really feel that nervous energy like all the time. That's where we are. This can go one way or the other right now.
I mean, you have people who are agitators who know that that's where the country is, and they just keep poking the bear.
And that's
poking the bear.
But I think
I'm putting my hand in that cave for that soul.
Joe said one good thing, and I think the one thing I'm excited about, not just with her, I'm just excited to see a diverse cabinet, because all those women have.
Oh Lord, yes.
Yeah, their appointments are going to be serious.
Yeah. So
what? Okay.
People worried about her being about VP. What they need to be worried about is once she wins, Joe ain't gonna run for that second term. He gonna pass that torch, and then that cabinet gonna be, and then we get Senate. That's when it's gonna get on and pop.
There you go.
Judge appointments. So that's what you really want to.
I mean, the ones that
lifelong positions. Put Susan Rice in the Supreme Court. That's where you need to put her. Let her sit there for the rest of her life.
Listen, this is what say that louder, because that's what I'm hoping that Ruth Bader Ginsburg has had a conversation with her. It's like, look, I'm gonna hold out to this election.
Again, another slogan: chill out, sis. I got you. just sit still for a little bit. I got you. Yeah. Yep. Pass that on to her. That's what we need, and that'll be the move to make. And then whenever we move and start getting that majority, but we have to take that back. Now, on a lighter note, what are we gonna do about the music industry and all this WAP that's going on?
But there's a place for the WAP. I think, so Kevin and I was having this conversation the other day, and I was like, back to what we used to have, BET Uncut. Like, there was a place to
at
go at
3:30 in the morning in the middle of the day.
Right. Where you didn't have to worry about your child on YouTube and stumbling upon it. Like, I think that we've lost some of that ability to like, okay, I want to see this. Let me go here. I want to see this now. Let me go here. We've lost that. And it's showing up. And I was listening to something today, and they were just talking about speaking about technology, right? And how it's been very good for us in some ways, but also very bad. And they were talking about Alexa and how kids, when they hear a voice, because they yell commands at Alexa, they're doing it to other women because they're used to talking to women that way. So there's now a trend to where you're like, Alexa, play so-and-so. So now, because that's how they communicate, they're communicating that way in real life. And not to distinguish.
Right. Now you could talk that new Buick, is Alexa's in your damn car.
Right. And it's training a generation to behave a certain way. So when you think about WAP, right, we can watch WAP, no problem. But what is that doing to other people? And I'm not here to censor anybody, right? Because it's a woman's body. They could do what they want. They could say what they want. And we can all be for it. But there is a level of how do we consume this information and this content?
My in Jill, before you go, the funny thing to me is, though, coming from Alabama and growing up in North Florida and thinking about all the Southern hip hop, Southern rap I had to listen to, you're going to be who you're going to be. And I feel there's a disconnect of people understanding entertainment versus real life, because I remember in the 8th grade, you got to remember now, I'm in Panama City. There's not a lot of drugs. There's not a lot of stuff going on.
Right.
8th grade, it's either the summer of the 7th grade going into the 8th or the 8th grade going into the 9th grade. Dre dropped The Chronic, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Everybody stopped wearing Nike Cortezes and had on Chucks.
Right.
Everybody wanted to be a dope boy and started.
I still got them on.
Right. Everybody just shifted. And I'm talking about, these were the dudes that were straight laced, played sports, A-B average students, just wanted to become dope boys. Now, there was a section of them that went that way. The rest of us was like, oh, this some dope music is great, but I still got to be at school on time.
Right.
And my mama's still going to beat my ass if I'm trying to skip school and if I get a C, so. Right. My problem with it, and it kind of goes to what Toya is saying, like, I wish my nephew would yell at my mama and tell her to do something, right? Or yell at his mama and tell her to do something. Can we keep blaming this stuff on music versus a certain generation of parenting that we know? Like Bill said, the parents themselves are the wolves. Is it really the music or is it the parenting?
Yeah, I mean, well, when you're at a family function and you're 13 and your mama, dropping it like it's hot on Doodoo Brown, it is a different context. Mm-hmm. Our parents were still, maybe stepping, or whatever. It is totally contextual. And I think that but we have I always guide people back to the movie The Help. A lot of people hate it, but there was that was the last image of the real kind of family that Black people used to have. Like there's just this one scene where Viola Davis's character, her boss won't let her leave, and Octavia Spencer's character says, well, that's okay. I'm going home. I'll feed the kids. I'll feed, your husband, whatever his name was, I'll take care. And then you see her at the house. She's cooking. She fed the kids, fed the husband. He went to bed. She cleaned up her kitchen and she turns off the light. And that's the end of the scene. And that spoke. I mean, and when she turned off the light, I was like, oh my God, that was the last time we were that. We don't feel responsible or accountable, or we don't do that anymore. And a lot of that comes from what we're taking in, to your point.
Yeah.
So if little boys keep talking, listen, I've seen some videos on Facebook that I wanted to do. Now, we do all kind of crazy stuff on Fresh Squeeze, right? I wanted to put them on there, and Stars didn't want to do it because they're like images of kids from school, like simulating every sex act you've ever seen. And they're in classrooms, and these kids have to be under 8th grade. And then there was one, and it's 2 boys simulating these sex acts in the front of the class, and the rest of the class is watching and filming. And they're all in it. 2 boys. It felt like it singed my corneas. It just, something about that was just horrifying. I have many, my best friend is homosexual. I was raised by gays, okay, if it's not obvious. But there was something about that was like, that's too far. We're not allowing children to be children.
Right.
And how do we, and that would be my question, because now I'm going on the air. But, how do we repair that and allow children to be children? LaToya, think if your son was 12 and you walked in and some little boy was hunching him like they were literally having sex.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's like you can't even process what that, and that people are laughing and putting it on Facebook. And I showed it to Paula, who does Sunday Morning Joy. She's also a teacher. And she was like, girl, it ain't nothing.
And that's the scary part, right? When you're talking about school. And so going back to your point, Mike, you were talking about the Chronic. I grew up in Miami bass music, Doodoo Brown and Tootsie Rollin' and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew the difference, right? I knew that I could do that outside while we're playing, but I didn't do that in the classroom because that's not where that belonged.
Right.
So how do we get back to that distinction for our kids? And that goes back to parenting. That goes back to showing, hey, there's a time and a place for this. You don't do that everywhere.
So I don't have a solution, but I do have a cause and effect that I think. I call it the addiction to the candies. We have a generation that's addicted to likes, comments, and shares. Social media, it's a different kind of drug. They like the attention. And so I remember somebody was doing an interview, and Toy, I could have swore this might have happened when we was doing one of the interviews. And they was talking to this young lady, and she literally said, like, I want to be Instagram famous. And they was like, well, what does that mean? She didn't have a dollar value to it. She didn't know about endorsements. She didn't know about getting free products. She just wanted to be Instagram famous, period. And she automatically thought the other stuff would come with it. So my problem, and for Jill and LaToya, I would say it's that addiction, because there's that trigger. If you think about like chasing, I would say if let's go back to what we talked about in the 80s with cocaine and heroin.
When you say
you're chasing that feeling, right? Yeah. So they're chasing that high of that first time you go viral, or they're chasing that high of the person you looked up to has liked your page and decides they want to follow you. They get a different kind of high from that. And it's like, ooh, I need that. So let me go do something stupid again, because I want these comments. I want that attention, because I mean, even on my end, we just lost Jill, but on my end, one of the things I do is I wake up and I'm looking at social media because I'm doing social media management, but I'm doing it for work. You got to imagine the kids that's constantly in their phones just looking for that like, looking for that comment. Think about early in the day before it was a big deal. If you would think on Instagram, where people used to take screenshots when somebody liked 10 of their posts in a row.
Right.
And they used to repost that kind of screenshot. So we have kids that are, I call it the candies. They're addicted to the likes and comments and the shares. That's what their life has become. They don't know about the business side. And my thing is, it would be okay to go that route if you was educated. Yes. If you were educating them and teaching them that, yo, the people that you like that's doing this, is a business for them. They wake up and they have to post on a schedule, right? And they're going through 200 photos just to post 3. And they got a professional photographer. They search keywords. Like, I think one of the biggest ones I would use for a comparison would be Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because
they're making content all the time. See him every day on TikTok.
Whatever you feel about Tekashi, I've never seen another rapper ever come down and break down the Billboard 100 and the Billboard #1 spot the way Tekashi did. And he was knowledgeable about the streams, the plays, and the actual records, and the way he strategically positioned himself. And that next day or that next week, he was #1. So you can think he's a thug, but if you ever watch, I think his name is Daniel Cortez or whatever. Mm-hmm. If you ever watch Daniel Cortez talk and not listen to Tekashi 6ix9ine music, that is someone that said, I like this industry. I'm going to exploit it to become rich. And this is exactly how I'm going to do it. All the way down to that designer he has that does those clay figures. And now what do you see? Everybody from that generation has those anime-like drawings and clay figures to represent it, which actually started with one of the artistic movements from another crazy, which was Kanye West, which if you do even more deeper research, that look and feel of simplistic designs and hard imagery came from the jazz era. And the jazz people used to use large fonts, very simplified. So while some people are thinking, oh, we're reinventing stuff, if you just go do the research, most of that structure, even down to talking about women, drugs, goes back to blues and jazz.
Yeah.
Because Miles Davis was almost always high when he was making his music. But that's just the culture. And if you learn those things, and Lewis Oliver referred a book to me that I think a lot of people should read. It's called Contagious. I forgot the name of the author.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying, okay, I was waiting for you to finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, but it's Contagious. But it's a book people should read because you just learn how people respond and go through things. And some of the stuff used to be when it was just hardcore marketing and hand-to-hand transaction. But now that contagious and that addiction, with it being so easily accessible and it's so easy to have people fake like you, these kids are on a whole different level. And those, like you said, Toya, those triggers hit different these days.
Yeah, and you know what's been interesting, right? Because we had talked about it before when Instagram was supposed to be taking down the likes. They never really did it because I still see likes, right?
Right.
It's been interesting to see had they actually fully went through with it, how the platform may have changed.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of unfortunate because we didn't get to see the experiment play all the way out. And
they're supposed to remove it and only show it for influencers, right? So influencers can pull the data. That was it.
Right. But it's still like you can still see it. Like I still see it all the time. So, and it's interesting just thinking about it because we was having this conversation with a little cousin of ours the other day. And I was just going back to what we used to have, right? And I was like, now they don't have like crushes, right? When we were little, you used to be able to have a crush. You had a crush on like ABC, The Boys, or if you were a guy, Tracey Spencer or whoever. Now, like, who do y'all look at? Who do you see where you're like, and they were like, they don't really watch anything. There's nothing for them to consume to be able to have this sort of like experience. And
now that you say that, I'm thinking, what is that central point for them?
Right. What is that? Who do you kind of see? What do you model yourself after? But going back to what you said, Instagram, TikToks, they're looking at all these other people who have no real true like career. So what do you aspire to be? An Instagram famous person, right? That's that.
Like, what sector do you want to be Instagram famous in? Are you going to be a model? Are you going to be an influencer?
Fashion, like, and it just
when they say it, I try to lead them like, okay, that's cool, but what's your brand? And I think teaching teens that because I have a young man I'm going to mentor, and they want clothing lines, they want these things, but they don't know how to even put them together. I hope we can change that. And I hope some of that, I would say some of that comfort of isolation, being okay being alone. Because I remember having to play by myself. I might have had 4 friends, and if they weren't around, I was still cool. There was still stuff to do.
Exactly.
But I wasn't hungry to just be included. And like, it's almost like telling everybody, because I remember when Jeremy Mills used to use it, he would spell cool, Kewl. Like, you can be a cool kid, but you don't have to be the same cool everybody else is.
Right.
And that was one of the things I took when Jeremy Mills was building his brand. Like, there's different forms of cool, but you don't always have to fit in. Like Jill said, let's get out of these silos and work together. But if I don't fit in somewhere, that's cool. I just want to be happy, but I don't have to be accepted by everybody. I'm going to read a comment for Jill because I believe she has to go do the show. My damn phone kept ringing, and now I got to go do the show. It was amazing, and I would love to come back. Love you, me. And I think it was a great conversation, and always good to have Jill's perspective because she hears a lot of different voices that me and you would never get to hear. And I want everybody to know I try to stay on StarX, but StarX has a lot of greatness. We just got to get behind him and literally break some of it into pieces because nobody's even matching him with what he's doing with Hungry Black Man. He's a leader in food right now. And Jill is still a voice that we rely on in the community. So to Jill, thank you very much. I just wanted everybody to know she's working, so we got her in. But I think getting over to Candy's Toya is a good way for us to end this topic because for a lot of people, I think a good example would be we don't do our show at certain times because we know other people are prime at that time. And we've never said, oh, we only got this many views, we should stop. We know the people we touch because we get inboxes or we get direct messages, and that amount may be small, but that amount is powerful. So sometimes you got to know the impact you're making versus the popularity you may be seeking.
Exactly. And it's diversity, going back to what we talked about too, having different voices and realizing that your voice has a place. So I think it's extremely important for that.
So I want to start switching this up. I'm going to let LaToya start closing the show because I don't want y'all to just hear my voice like I'm DJ Envy on the Breakfast Club. So we're going to switch this up from this point on. So that's Toya.
That's Mike.
Nope. There you go. You're going to do the whole thing from now on. It's now your job. But hey, y'all, we enjoyed you. So we're going to try this one more time so y'all can see Toya get this right because y'all always say I'm saying it's late. So we're going to do this one more time. So that's Toya.
That's Mike. And this is Tech, Beats, and Bytes.